I've been wanting to make this for a while. It's not a trance file, not a dominance piece. It's not a guided anything, just context. Because if you've been here for a minute, you've probably noticed that I don't really make regular hypnosis anymore. When I first started, I was doing more traditional formats: induction, deepener, suggestions, emergence. It works, it's clean, it's familiar, and it's safe. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. However, I started noticing something. People weren't responding to the structure. They were responding to the pressure field behind the structure. The way language bends perception before someone even realizes it's bending. The moment where a thought feels like it originated inside them, but it didn't. That part fascinated me more than scripts. So I stopped writing scripts and I started studying architecture. Not psychology in the academic sense, but architecture in the structural sense. What holds perception in place? What destabilizes it? What makes a conclusion feel inevitable? What makes obedience feel voluntary? Once you see that layer, it's hard to unsee it. And that's when O-point induction started forming. O-point isn't about putting someone under, it's about removing external reference points. Most induction styles move attention somewhere specific: breathing, counting, imagery. O-point collapses outward orientation. It's a narrowing, a quieting. You don't push someone down. You fold them inward. It feels different, less theatrical, more gravitational. There's no dramatic drop or deeper. There's just a subtle inward tilt. And when external awareness compresses, identity softens. That's where deeper work becomes possible. Not because someone is hypnotized, their self-referencing has reduced. And that is a very, very different doorway. After O-point came something more surgical: Model O. Model O isn't relaxation, it's inevitability. There's a moment before someone decides something, and then there's the moment after they think they've decided. Pre-echo collapse lives between those 2 points. It shifts the after, so the decision feels like it already existed. It makes it obvious, subtle, clean. It doesn't need volume. And when it's used properly, there's no resistance, because there's nothing to resist. Because you don't argue with inevitability, you settle into it. That's why Model O is powerful in identity work, confidence shifts, dominance dynamics, behavioral rewriting, because it doesn't override. It rearranges temporal perception, and that changes everything. And then there's Øffect, the sharper one. Øffect isn't about collapsing inward. It's the sealing. It takes a result and positions it as completed, already integrated, already live. The nervous system reacts differently when something is framed as ongoing versus finished. Finished requires no effort. It removes striving, which removes friction, which accelerates embodiment. That's why Øffect works well for activation files, motivation, spell-like content, behavior shifts. It's not you will, it's done. And the body tends to comply with completed narratives faster than future promises. So when you layer these three, O point collapses the outer world. Model O, adjust inevitability. Øffect seals the result. That combination doesn't feel like hypnosis. It feels like an orientation shift. And that's what I'm interested in. Not theatrics. Orientation. I don't build these to control people. I build them because control is a surface concept. Influence is deeper. And influence begins where perception organizes itself. So, if you can understand that layer, you don't need force. You don't need loudness. You don't need exaggerated dominance. You can speak softly and still restructure someone's internal alignment. That's also more interesting to me. And quite frankly, it's more sustainable. I think that's what separates what I do from standard formats. I'm not interested in making people feel overwhelmed. I'm interested in making things feel internally coherent, where alignment feels natural, where devotion feels chosen, where submission doesn't feel like surrender, it feels like calibration. Especially in dynamics like femdom. Real dominance doesn't need theatrics. It needs structural certainty. And that certainty isn't loud. So like I've stated before in community posts, I'm still going to release traditional style files sometimes. I do not have anything against them, but I will be labeling everything. Because if you're listening to O Point, you should know that that's what you're entering. If you're stepping into Model O, you should know that inevitability framing is happening. If you're engaging Øffect, you should know completion language is being applied. Transparency builds trust, and trust amplifies effect. This podcast is probably the most normal thing I'll post. Because if you understand the architecture, you start recognizing it everywhere. In media, politics, relationships, advertising, you start hearing inevitability framing. You start noticing presuppositions. You start catching identity positioning. And once you see it, you don't go back. That awareness is empowering. You begin to choose what you allow to reorganize you. I'm building something long-term here. A multiverse, an ecosystem, And if you're here early, you're watching it assemble in real time, which in my opinion is really fucking cool, because it's rare to see architecture being built openly. Usually it's hidden. I don't mind showing the bones because understanding the bones doesn't reduce the effect. It deepens it. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here since the early days, I know you've definitely felt the shift. Some of you have commented on it. And if you're paying attention, you'll notice how the next few releases orbit around what's already out. Because everything I build connects. Nothing stands alone. Not really. And that's intentional. All right, that's enough for today. Next episode, I might break down one structure more technically. Or maybe I won't. We'll see. But now you know why this channel feels different. And that difference compounds over time. Thanks for being here, everybody. Love you all.